When we went to GDC this year for 2019, we had the awesome opportunity to record a few episodes in the park with some awesome people. When you go to GDC, it's one thing to go to all the talks, but my favorite part is meeting all different types of developers. We decided to do some of these recordings in the park, mainly just because it was hard to run back and forth between the talks and everyone was busy, so we thought that just keeping around the actual conference would be easier for everybody. With that being said, there's a little noise. I've tried to reduce some of it, but honestly, it just sounds a little better and more natural to keep it in. So in this podcast DLC, we interview Mira from Marmoset. She's an awesome artist and a great software developer, and I hope you guys enjoy. We're just going to talk a little bit about GDC and how everything's going. And
why do you sound like you're doing an ASMR video right now?
I'm going to talk about... Sorry.
Hi guys, welcome. So good.
It's all good, relax, it's chill.
Sorry, yeah, it's just super chill. Everyone. Okay. But, so how's,
So, hi guys.
Yeah, what's up?
How's GDC going for everybody?
Yeah.
Very good. This is my 6th GDC. I showed up in 2014. I sort of saved up for the year prior to that.
Yeah.
And had no plans. I only knew my friends from Polycount online.
Yeah.
And I showed up and met up with my friends who I made from Polycount, and I had the Expo Pass at the time, and I ran into the guys from Marmoset, and I was using Toolbag at the time.
Yeah.
And I was kind of nerding out. I had just finished one of my first environments, and I just passed by the booth, and I was just kind of very excited to meet all of them. And Joe Wilson just sort of said, if you want to put your work up on the screen for sometime tomorrow, we'll give you a wolf sticker. And for some reason I got very excited about wolf stickers. And I took him very seriously on that offer, and I showed up the next day, ready to claim my wolf sticker. I got my USB drive and I put in the environment, we loaded up Toolbag, and they just put it up on the screen in the booth. And that was very exciting to me. I was very happy to see it, and they were just very, very, very friendly people. And we sort of hung out, all of us, for the week, and I just meshed very well with the guys, and then we just sort of kept in contact. I mostly kept in contact with Joe after GDC, and he became a mentor to me in terms of my 3D work. And we had a good year of just me sending him projects at random, and he would give me feedback. And sometime in 2015, they came up with an artist position, which is very rare for them, because Joe is pretty much, at the time, was the only artist, along with Mark. Mark mostly handles business. He does a bit of the arts. So you could say it's about 1.5 artists on that team. And eventually they acquired Hexels, which is a 2D grid drawing program by a guy called Ken Kopecki, as well as Ted Martins. They were Ted was the artist and Ken was the engineer. And Ken had sort of started to trail off on his own with Hexels at that point. And so Marmoset thought they would acquire Hexels, and they needed an artist for the job. And Joe, having worked with me for the year on my personal work, thought of me as a candidate because of how well we sort of worked with each other just on a normal basis, a normal feedback basis.
Yeah.
And from there, we just tried it out. I started out part-time. I was already working another job at a mobile games company back in Jordan.
Awesome.
And I did the 2-job thing for a good year. I then transitioned off into becoming a full-time artist eventually. I was on Hexels for the longest time, and I still do create a few things here and there. My job has shifted so much throughout the years. I went from just creating content for Hexels to now being on Toolbag, creating marketing content as far as branding, anything from branding to promotional videos, to working with the community on breakdown articles.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's my job is exciting in that sense, in that every day I get to work on something different.
Yeah.
and we just finished the GDC Toolbag Showcase video, which was very exciting for me to work on. I've been on it for the last 6 months, sort of just contacting artists and being like, hey, let's work together on this video. And most of them, if not all of them, were very excited to be a part of it, and that made me very happy. And we just wrapped it up and we just published it, and I think the results turned out really, really cool. The feedback from the artists themselves has been very positive so far, and that makes me feel very excited to have been a part of it. And yeah,
that's pretty amazing, because when you really think about it, how you started is you were really a big fan of the software.
Exactly.
And it really reminds me of the beginning of my career. I'm sure Ryan with yours. It's just like you end up really trying to get your foot in the door, or just being a fan of a certain studio or a certain type of game or software, and that inspiration really kind of drives you to make the connections that you need and go from there.
Absolutely. And for me, I mean, when I came out to that first GDC, I came out with the intention of I didn't have any intentions of actually getting a job. I just said, you hear often in this industry that it's all about connections, and that's great. But my intentions were just to come out, scout the place, see what it's like, meet others from the industry, because I think that's very important.
Yeah.
So the intention was to make friends and see what it's like, and that's exactly what I did. At the time, my business card was just a normal business card with like a graphic of my huge curly hair on one side and then my details on the other. But attached to that was a wooden camel, which I got from. They're very popular from souvenir stores back home in Jordan.
Yeah.
And that is part of my identity, is that I am from Jordan. So I thought I would tie that into my branding. And so I had about 40 camels in my suitcase attached to business cards. And I just gave them out to people, and 6 years later, I still have the same people that I met 6 years ago come up to me and say, "I still have your camel.
That's awesome.
It's on my desk."
Awesome. That's super cool.
So it's always about finding a way to make a mark on people, I think, as part of your personal branding.
That's really, really cool. And I have to say, too, just because I met you, I think, back in 2014, maybe 2015. And no, it was your first time here. Mm-hmm. It was pretty wild, because even just coming from the East Coast, it's really only a 6-hour flight, and we take for granted how easy it is for us to just travel places, even the harder places around the United States. And you get up, leave home, jump over here to America, which is it's much harder to come from another country than it is from another state. I always thought it was super inspirational. Yeah. And then when you start working on Hexels, it was it's really wild to see. I mean, like all the stuff you guys are doing, and Marmoset is amazing, and the work is really cool, and it's pretty wild. Yeah. So how many GDCs has this been now?
This is my 6th GDC.
6 GDCs.
Been with Marmoset for 4. This is my 4th year with them.
Yeah.
And every year has just gotten better and better, and I continue to learn from them, especially Joe, and they're extremely just respectable people. They've always kind of provided me with opportunities and flexibilities that I couldn't have imagined. We're an online company, so it's kind of crazy to think that such a fantastic set of softwares was built by a group of people, and only a small group of people.
Yeah.
All based worldwide from home.
Yes. Yeah. It's pretty wild. Yeah. I mean, I know there's other companies out there that do that, but there's the fact that what you're working on is so heavily visual, and you were even just talking about gathering all the artist images and all the artwork just for the video that you were working on. It's very difficult to do that and get everything together and organize those things. And also too, I think that one thing that people take for granted with software is just that everything kind of falls into place. I'm sure you could speak to that a little bit, but it's just not true. It's you really have to kind of source different opinions and figure out what stuff you guys are going to work on and how you're going to put certain things in. And because of deadlines and stuff, I imagine something almost like triage, where you try and pick the biggest thing to work on first, the most demanding part to add, and then you try to fall in behind
Yeah, I mean, it is a matter of supply and demand, and we make sure to listen to the community as much as we can, and we try to make those outlets as accessible as possible as far as community goes. Yeah, we're on top of it as much as possible, and we try to provide that for people.
Cool. That's really cool. I'm curious about, because I've only ever worked in a studio with people physically around me, and for myself personally, I've always found it's difficult to work on my own solo. So how do you work in that way, where you don't have a physical office and you may not always have the people you physically work with, How do you kind of stay motivated to keep your work going? Is that something you just feel like that's very natural for you to occur, and that's just kind of like the way you've always worked? Or I'd be curious just to kind of get your opinion on that.
I really, honestly, I think it's been crucial to see how passionate the rest of my team is, and that is infectious. I think once that influence is high, influence is easy. If there's a bad apple in the group, you feel it. That influence overtakes everything, and vice versa. If there's really good influence, it becomes your responsibility not to let people down. And I really don't want to let any of those guys down. They've given so much to me, and I can only give back in the best way that I can. And I hope that I'm doing as good of a job as I am, and that requires me to stay on top of things.
Right.
So, yeah.
No, it's pretty awesome. Also, too, I mean, generally just being a younger developer as well, is the amount that you've so early on in your career have accomplished, and also coming from a different country, it's really admirable. It really, really is. I mean, it's really kind of cool to see. Yeah, I know. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
No, so it's pretty wild. The way that we can kind of wrap it up is like, what's special to you this year other than your work? Have you seen any talks?
I think 6 years in, it's a matter of keeping your plants alive, you know?
Yeah.
6 years ago you plant the seeds, and now it's a matter of harboring the fruits of your labor, in a way.
Yeah.
Always, for me, it's a matter of seeing everyone that I've been seeing yearly and seeing what they're up to. That makes me incredibly happy. And then for us as a company, you could almost say it's a company retreat, because we really only get to see each other physically that one time a year. And that's the biggest part of it, is that I get to see my team. I get to hold an event, a really great event with my team, and we all get to sort of meet the people that use our software, and the great guys. Especially for me, on the community front of things, I recognize, I see names all the time. And I feature people with these names, but I don't know what they look like. So when they come up to me and introduce themselves, I'm like, yes, you're that person that I'm working with on a breakdown article, or you're this person that we put you in the video for the whatever showcase this past few years. And that for me is a true joy. And I really am a fan of meeting people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us, and yes, hopefully we can talk again, and I'm really excited to see what you guys are doing at Marmoset.
As are we.
Yeah, right. So I think that's
it for us here. Thank you, Mira.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Fantastic.
Yeah, great.
Reconnecting. Yes, thank you. Please put that in the end of the
No, I will.
I know, I'm so great. Yeah, no, please, guys. Take it easy. I know.